Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Paranormal Podcast. It's Tuesday, and we are geared up for another show for you guys and gals out there. But we want to welcome our ghost. Shoot, Lord have mercy. We want to welcome our guest, David Gooslin, aka Goose. He's host of Hereto Chewbubblegum, and he's all out of chewing bubblegum and all that good stuff. And I'm not going to take a ass kick. I'm just saying he's all out of chewing bubblegum. That's all I got to say.
Well, greetings and thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem whatsoever. And also, I cannot leave out my co-host.
Hi, I'm RhiAnna.
Yeah, RhiAnna. See, I always screw something up. And it's not a good podcast if I don't screw something up. Trust me. So we're going to dive into a lot of stuff here, UFO-wise, paranormal-wise, too. Because I know Goose has some interest in paranormal, too, don't you?
Yes, I do have some of that. Loch Ness monster stories. I mean, not me personally. I would love to go visit Loch Ness, but I've had people that email into the show talk about Loch Ness and Bigfoot, and those are two things we've really not talked about a lot on the show. But we're definitely going to, at some point.
So. I was going to say, good God, has somebody seen Loch Ness and Beaver Creek out here floating around? I'm sure they have.
Hey.
I'm not good. You've heard that story.
Yeah. I mean, and I could say a lot of things there, but I'm not going to. I would just say that I hate going out on the first of the month and just leave it at that.
Yeah, very true. So how you been, man? And how's the podcast going for you? Is it met your expectations so far?
Oh yes, I'm doing good. It's going great. We've grown over the last year. Well, really, probably the last 6 months, leaps and bounds. We're also available. I mean, we're available on every major platform plus Pandora. And you as myself know, when to get podcast on platforms, all you do is just fill out stuff and submit it. With Pandora, you do that, but they have to listen to your podcast more than one episode and then select you to be on their platform. Just because you submit does not mean you'll get selected. And that took about a 3-month process. Mm-hmm. And something that I did not realize until probably a month after we've been on, Pandora is only available in the United States. People over in Europe don't have Pandora. So
you learn something new every day. I did not know that.
Yes, because I sent a guy I sent a link to the show through the Facebook. I always, when an episode drops, I always put everything together and post it on our Facebook page. And a guy messaged me, and he's like, because I posted the Pandora link, because I was trying to get our, listens up on Pandora. We were new, and he messaged me. He's like, hey, congratulations, but I live in Germany. I cannot listen on Pandora. I'm like, okay, let me send you the iTunes link. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay, thank you. So,
see, I didn't realize that, but I know it took a while for BODS Mayhem, the other podcast I do, that, it took a couple months to even Pandora, get back to me, but I'm on there for that one. But I've been on there for years, though. You got me on Anchor. You got me hooked on Anchor. So go ahead and check an Anchor for this podcast.
No, Anchor is awesome way to get started. If anybody wants to do a podcast, I recommend, first doing research and then checking out Anchor, because it's simple, it's easy, and it automatically uploads your stuff. Once you upload it to Anchor, it's on by Spotify. It's on Spotify as well.
Mm-hmm. And RhiAnna is starting a podcast called Pokemon Fucking Master. So.
Really? So you okay?
No, he just likes to give me hell because I'm a dork.
Who is your favorite Pokemon?
Swablu.
Loch Ness to Beaver Creek.
Yeah. A real funny story, and if my daughter's watching, she may get mad at me for saying this, but she was like 7, 8 years old. So this was 20 years ago, and she was into Pokemon, and there was one that was shaped like an egg that would sing really softly and like put you to sleep.
Togepi?
Maybe. And it might not even been an egg, but it was one that would say Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff.
Jigglypuff.
And I'm not into Pokemon. I'm sorry, but I asked her what that one's name was, and she told me something, Crack Attack or something like that, because she didn't know, but she told me its name was Crack Attack. And I said, well, what's its special thing? She's like, well, it throws eggs and they crack on other Pokemon. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, so I honestly went for a couple of years thinking this Pokemon's name was Crack Attack, and I had no clue. So,
Hey, well, at least you didn't go to the store. Say, you got that Pokemon Crack Attack? Sit over there.
there's been instances where I have embarrassed myself like that. So,
oh, that's good. Good stuff.
One of my buddies years ago, there's a Mexican restaurant in Coal Run that you care if I say the name of it?
Okay.
Great Mexican restaurant. And my friend owns it and runs it, El Picante. And it's got a picture of pickles and a pepper on it, like a green pepper and a red pepper. And so one of my buddies told me that El Picante translated into little pickle. I had no clue. So we went there for lunch one day and I was asking him how they come up with the name Little Pickle. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, doesn't El Picante mean little pickle? He's like, no, who told you that? You're stupid. So.
Wow. I got to go out and eat with Goose sometime. This is good.
Definitely, man. We will have a blast.
Oh, see, that's why we need to put out another convention.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we lost
Goose. There we go. Here we start again. All right. Got you back.
Okay. Hopefully that was not on my end that time.
I don't know. Maybe it was Loch Ness and Crack Attack coming out of this there.
Yeah, definitely. You were talking about a convention. I don't know. I love putting one on. Had some great friends that we put one on with. It was a lot of fun. If we had continued doing it, I think that we would still be doing it to this day. The stress level that went into that was so much stress, you know, because there's a lot of things. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, John's talking about Darkwoods. We did this. A bunch of us did this in 2010 in Pikeville, Kentucky, like the second week in March, I think, mid-March. It may have been the first week, but I've
got a poster of it on my wall over here, actually.
Yeah, well, I actually saw one on my Facebook the other day, and I have a shirt and a bunch of stuff from it as well. And but just the stress that went into that, you know, there was so much stress. And I was a lot younger back then. You know, I mean, this was 12 years ago. So I was 35 years old, and I could have, or no, I was younger than that. So, but there's just so much stress that went into that. And I would have been 34. Sorry. Because I was trying in my mind as I was talking to figure out how old I am. But, so I would have been 34, but there was just so much stress that went into that. And I really, at this point in my life, I love to go to conventions. I don't think I want to. Yes. Yeah,
it is.
You know,
and plus trying to make everybody behave and keep them out of jail. That's the big part too.
Yeah. We had a guy got tased, but you know, I mean, hey, that was the life of the party, you know?
Yes.
And, he even told me after that, you know, he said, it's pretty cool when Michael Myers is knocking on your door at 12 o'clock at night telling you keep the noise down. He's trying to sleep. So
that's hilarious. I think we could pull it off, man.
You know, I have toyed with the idea. I have toyed with it.
Let's go. So, I'll be your biggest advisor. Let's go.
Well, maybe about 7 years from now, when I've left the cookie factory altogether, I may want to do it then. So
I'll be dead then.
No, you won't. No, you won't. I'll just, in 7 years from now, I'll just, well, I'm not going to say how old I will be, but I will be 54 in 7 years. So
yeah, that'd be awesome, man. We'll have hover rounds and everything riding around.
Scooter. Yeah, definitely. Mobility scooter.
That's right. I want a little bell on mine. Goes beep, beep. That's what I want.
I will get me one of those and go to Paintsville and ride the little track around Paintsville.
Go to Bull Creek. Lord, we're way off subject tonight. That's good. We got Pokemon in here. We got all kinds of stuff. And Lord of mercy. Nursing homes. And I got some
so personal experiences. Let's get on track a little bit.
Okay. Well, and I was telling him before you joined us there, before pre-show, I've only had 2 personal experiences. My first one was in 1996 in Knott County at Cars Fork Lake. It was after midnight and I was driving, and there's one particular part of the lake where you go past like the marina, and you get close to, I think the 160 intersection where the caution lights are at, where the old historic Car Creek High School is at. It was close to that. And I look out the car window, and just above treetops is it kind of looked circular, okay, but it had multicolored lights flashing different and different and different patterns. And in the center was a white light that was shining down like they were scanning for something. And there was nobody on the road. So I slowed down and kind of pulled off and watched it. And within just a few seconds, it was gone. And that was my first ever, first time I saw a UFO. My second time was actually last year in February of 2021 in Pikeville. And a friend of mine was at the other end of town. And we saw 3 triangle UFOs with all white lights on them. That's all. The ones that I saw have white lights. The ones that he saw, some of them have white lights, some of them had different colored lights. But I think we know what that one is. I think that is the military TR-3B. There's some people that say that does not exist. It does. You can Google TR-3B. You will find a picture, and you can even Google TR-3B patent, and you can find a patent in the U.S. Patent Office that is owned by the Navy that has the drawing of what it will look like, what it would do. And I think a lot of your sightings in the late 70s, especially mid 80s, up until the early 90s, were the TR-3B, was the TR-3B. And I think that's military owned.
Really?
Yes, that is your classic triangle, black in color that has the, they have multiple lights on them, but most of the time, the triangles will be lit up, or either the center one is clear. But those do exist.
You're a supporter of like the CIA being aware of everything and like how it's been kept under wraps. Do you believe the whole Kennedy conspiracy that the military controls the UFOs and keeps us blind to what we're allowed to see?
Well, I think that part of that is, I definitely think there was a conspiracy in the Kennedy assassination itself, because just a few years ago, myself and my son, we actually went to Daley Plaza in Dallas when we toured where all that happened at. And from, where Lee Harvey Oswald was supposed to have shot at. And, even as good a marksman as he was, you could not have got those many shots off in that amount of time. Mm-hmm. And it is just a surreal feeling. I think there is something that definitely happened there. Something that they don't talk about a whole lot is after that happened, there was also one, maybe 2 Dallas police officers that were gunned down not far from Daley Plaza. Because there used to be, the way that the route went through Kennedy, he would have actually, if it would have continued, there was a train overpass that he would have been going under. Mm-hmm. And after the shots were fired, there was like a wood fence. And one of the Dallas police officers was actually killed close to the train tracks. And witnesses say that 2 men in black in a black car gunned him down and then left the scene. And, you have to do some digging to find that information, but it is there. Mm-hmm. As far as the government controlling all UAPs, first, I think that the government has always said there's no UFOs. They don't exist. And then, you had 2019, they changed them to UAPs. Mm-hmm. I think they did that so they can come back later and say, UFOs don't exist, UAPs do. It's the same thing. They're trying to save face, with the American people and public. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the government does control some of them. And shortly after September 11th, in I think March of 2002, you had a guy from UK, Gary McKinnon. Are you guys familiar with him? Mm-hmm. Where he hacked the NASA computers and he saw a list of human pilots that were qualified to fly extraterrestrial craft. And I think there may have been 12 of them. So, mm-hmm. You've definitely got some stuff there.
Right.
Especially like, from 2004 to 2015, when those Navy pilots were in their training flights, and then they got these videos actually leaked. in 2017. So that explains the cover up a little bit. Yeah, there's UAPs now.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was any part of it, but I don't see how, because from those videos, they are some phenomenal video.
Well, the way that I've always thought about it and looked at it, if those were from our country, if those were, we're U.S. military, you're talking about the ones in the videos and so forth, I think that, all the documentation, before the footage was leaked and everything, they had already done reports on this, and it had went up the chain of command. I think if it was something that was ours, they would have been told to relax and not worry about it. Okay. I don't think, there may be 2 or 3 other countries that could have that capability. I don't think that they do at this point. I think that was alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%, man, because the flight pattern of this, I don't know, they call it TikTok. Is that what I'm
TikTok?
No, TikTok, whatever. TikTok, Lord of mercy. Good Lord. It's one of those nights again. But that thing was going so fast against the wind. Those pilots were freaking out. They're like, we can't keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even think about it. If another country had that technology, you would have to be flying that with remote control. No human with the technology that we have right now could be in that, piloting that, doing all those moves and all that stuff. There's no way, because it's physically not possible with the human body with the technology that we have now.
We'd end up wrecking it or something. We'd crash it.
Oh, definitely.
Well, there goes like $18 billion thing down the drain. Back to the drawing board.
Well, and something else funny that I found out about the one that was shot with a cell phone. Because and I think the Tic Tac one may be in the one that was like flew into the ocean. Correct?
That's the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The other one that was shot with a cell phone. If you slow that down and look at different frames, and then you watch the Bob Lazar documentary on Netflix, that's very similar to what Bob Lazar drew and what he talked about in the late 80s, when he come forward.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff, man, is not just coincidental. These things to me are out there. I've seen stuff that I can't explain. And, so what made you go ahead? Was you going to say something, RhiAnna?
No, I was just going to say, because we were talking about military, the CIA released those reports just confirming so much already that had been previously denied.
Right.
I don't put anything past them knowing and either just sheltering the public or whatever, but down to astral projection, like they had showed the studies of it already. And I'm just like, well, yeah, of course they're going to conceal extraterrestrial. And I get it, trying not to cause mass panic and things like that. But I feel like the general public should be a little bit more educated as to what they know and stuff. But I just think that it's so cool that research is so open now and that we have so much to reference because it's not as hidden or as taboo anymore. I don't think people look at you like you're as crazy anymore when you talk about UAPs, UFOs, alien, extraterrestrial stuff. So
I want to say hello to Bolin Cox. He's in here. He said, hello, gang. Hello.
Hey, Bolin. How are you doing, sir? Bolin is a friend of the show. He's actually on the show. He has a special segment. We have a YouTube video film posted up on the Hereto Chewbubblegum YouTube page, Bowling with Bolin. Bolin is a great friend, very knowledgeable, very funny guy. Thank you very much, Bolin, for joining us. And you were talking about, educating the public and so forth. And I hope the disclosure comes out soon, in my lifetime. I hope it comes out. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this on the show. You had so many, if you go back to the Majestic 12, you had Bush Sr. was supposedly an original member of that. And if you look at all the original members, I don't think there's any original members that are still alive to this day. So I think that has made information more easier to find. And, I'm not wishing anybody bad luck, but if you get people that die off that were involved in this, there's no secret to be hidden, because it will not affect these people. They're not here anymore. So why not let some of it out? And we lost a great patriot to disclosure back in December. And I'm talking about Harry Reid. He's always been for disclosure, and he knew a lot of stuff. And, it was sad that when he passed, but, I'm not saying I believe every UFO sighting, every UFO crash. This started out for me. Our show started out during COVID in September of 2019. We were kind of confined on weekends. You couldn't go out. I was kind of bored. We'd watched everything on Netflix. I'd had enough Carol Baskins and all that other BS. And, I started listening to old episodes of Art Bell, and hopefully you're both familiar with Art Bell. I mean, Art is my idol. Sadly, he's not here with us anymore. Something I didn't realize is that he had came back, like a year or two before he passed away, and did a show on the Dark Matter digital network called Midnight in the Desert. And I found those on YouTube and started listening to those. And, I'd worked in radio prior to getting a job in the cookie factory, and I always wanted to do talk radio. And I thought, I could do a podcast. And I want to be honest, the first couple of episodes were just me, and they were awful, and I've still got them posted on all our platforms. But, then I had Cronkite came on board, and me and him started diving into some of the Ronald Reagan stuff, which is fascinating. Some of the Jimmy Carter stuff, talking about UFOs is fascinating. And, Cronkite left, and then I had Dirty Dan and Rebecca come on board, and we are meant to be together to do a show because we all gel and get along so well, and we all think the same. Not everything, as some of the things we think the same. We are open and awake to, if we're the only life form out there, that's just an awful waste of space. We do think that there's other stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And I hope that I'm not talking too much,
That's what you're here for, honey.
Well, normally people's like, okay, you talk too much, but,
nope.
This is just really fascinating subject to me. But I always thought something happened at Roswell, the Roswell crash. I thought the first story that they put out was true and accurate. And the reason I think that is because they had never planned for a situation like that. Mm-hmm. So they didn't know what to do. You had this happen. You had the main guy in charge. He tells the press officer to put this out. They put it out. It causes mass panic. And then they're like, the next day, no, it was a weather balloon. They didn't have a plan in place for this. And you can go back and look at the Nazi technology at the end of World War I. And then you skip forward to World War II. The Nazis, they were evil people. They're bad. But they were so much more technology. They were so much more advanced than any other country in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, because wasn't they building supposedly a UFO too? Something like that? Because I did see that doing some research actually a couple months ago. Because
you're talking about the Nazi Bell Project.
Exactly.
They still say that that may not have been real. There is a crash called the Dark Forest crash that happened, I think, shortly after World War I. It might have been 1937 or 38. And it happened in Germany. During that time, Hitler, now you can find evidence of the actual crash, okay, online. There's not much information online because Hitler controlled the media. Mm-hmm. But the story goes that there was a UFO that crashed, and it was recovered by the Nazis. And they back engineered all this stuff. And this is how they got their technology. I mean, we were in planes with propellers, and they had rockets. They were flying rocket, I mean, they were so much more advanced than what we were. And, look at, we supposedly got to the moon thanks to, people that we took from Nazi Germany and put to work for NASA. von Braun. That's how we got to the moon. They were highly intelligent, and they were really, really advanced.
Think about this though, just to think about how more advanced that they were compared to us during that time. It's really scary.
Yes.
What could have happened and didn't happen. It blows my mind to go back and again research, because we're not living there. We didn't know exactly what took place, but when you go back and look to see what they did compared to what we did and where they messed up and where we took advantage of, we're lucky. We're so lucky. I mean, honestly, because of all that technology that they could have thrown down on us and they just couldn't get their shit together.
Right.
And alive. So.
Okay, I hate to interrupt. I personally have to jump off for now.
That's fine.
I'll try to jump back on if I can, but
it was
nice talking to you.
It was very nice talking to you. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'll be back on if I can, guys.
It's okay. Sorry.
But you were talking about, and they were so advanced. I mean, and even going back to Roswell a little bit, look at the technology that came after Roswell, like 10 years later. I mean, you had the transistor, you had Velcro, you had, bulletproof vest, fiber optic cable. You had all this that came after that, and no one can convince me that nothing happened at Roswell. That was not. I will never believe there was a weather balloon crash at Roswell. Never.
Me either. I agree with you 1,000%, man, because it's so hush hush. And then like when it happened, I mean, they clamped on that quick. I mean, it's like you shut your mouth. You don't say this. You sign this paper right now. We'll be back. And I mean, there's some things where I've read that some of these people, man, have vanished. I'm like, where? Did they get arrested? Did they get taken away? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what happened with these folks?
Hey, there's I think it's Project Ultra. You can read what happened to some of the people in that, and their ultimate fate and so forth. So, the guy, I can't think of the guy's name that invented the car that ran on water. That was in Ohio, not far from us. Sorry. And he was poisoned.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Seth's Daily Podcast says, tell Goose solar flare said, what's up?
Hello, Seth. How are you? Seth didn't know what a solar flare was.
Oh,
God. I'll tell this funny story on Seth. So Seth's come on the radio show with us. We all have names, nickname. Mine's Goose. I've not got to choose mine. Mine's been stuck at Goose my whole life just cause my last name. Dirty Dan, I gave him that one. I wish that I'd thought a little bit and gave him the name Hopper because he looks just like Hopper from Stranger Things. But, he's already established as Dirty Dan. So when Seth came on the radio show with us, and I'm sure everybody that listens to the radio show knows that Simon, that's what we named him, is Seth. So we were talking about a story about solar. We were talking about solar flares and taking down power grids and, like a dark world situation, sending us back to the Stone Age. And we asked Seth what his thoughts on solar flares were. And he thought for a minute and he said, well, I think gasoline works better than solar because, where we're from, we can't collect a lot of energy. So we had nothing to do but laugh, and he cracked us up, and we love him and thank him for being on the show. And he got us a real good guest on the show. Russ Kellett is an author. He put out E.T. Rider and Alien Invasion Wells. And he's from the UK, and he was on our radio show this past week. And we talked to him the entire hour, and we're definitely going to have him back on the podcast show sometime as well.
Yeah, I feel like some of the podcasts that we do, and I know you feel this way too. There's just not enough time in an hour to get everything that you need to get in there. Yeah. But you're trying to be, cool with your guests to say, hey, we'll give you an hour, but if you want to go longer, that's fine. And sometimes, man, you just need to do a special, Goose. Just do a special.
Well, we actually have done some of those, and we try to do a round table every 3 months, every quarter, every 90 days. We'll try to do a roundtable. Sometimes it's 4 months, but we'll try to do that and get some really good guests. And we started talking about Antarctica. We had a special Antarctica show. And probably every 6 weeks, we're going to do every 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to do a special show just on Antarctica, because there is so much, so much mystery surrounding Antarctica. So many stories of UFOs, of hidden Nazi bases, entrances to inner Earth. I mean, there's just so much that we don't know about Antarctica.
Yeah, and it's just like the Bermuda Triangle, man. There's so much with that as well. You can go to another dimension. I've seen reports.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how? Different time travel, I should have said. Just some very interesting things that just make you go, how? Why? There's got to be some. I've always thought that when I come across these things, there's got to be some type of explanation. There's got to be something.
Yeah.
To you, like, rule out everything that possibly that could be common sense wise. You know what I mean? Because, and then you're just stuck with, I don't know. It's a very good possibility.
Right. Oh, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I think there's so much that we don't know that, I mean, you talked about time travel. I think it would be cool to time travel. I really do,
Yeah.
There's, and I've never researched it a lot until probably the last 3 or 4 months, is the multiverse theory. And I still don't understand it completely, but that's kind of fascinating. Let me ask you a question. If you could go to a different universe, a multiverse, where, I mean, it's like what you see here, but it's just different, would you do that? Yes or no?
Yeah.
What if you couldn't come back? Would you still do it? Yes or no?
Adios.
Really? Okay. Now, see,
Probably.
because I used to say the same thing. Yes. But I mean, I think I would want to come back, but, I mean, you even talked, there's supposed to be alien bases on the moon with Nazis. They supposedly did some studies and experiments on time travel as well. Portals, I don't know how those work. Are those possible? I think they definitely could be, because you mentioned the Bermuda Triangle, and when you look at the map of Argathia, that's the center Earth map. When you count, and when Rebecca first showed me this, I was counting the entrances, because there's supposed to be entrances all over the world to this. And I counted 7 of them. And I told her, I said, what if those were the 7 wonders, the original 7 wonders of the world? That's how you got in inner Earth. Now, do I know if inner Earth exists? No, I do not. If it does, I would like to go see that,
Sure. Folks, if you have any questions for Goose or myself, please put them in the chat room. I'll try my best to get these out and ask Goose and myself, whatever. Feel free. Jump in here. Feel free to ask some questions. We don't mind a bit. What's been your reaction to seeing these videos of UFO sightings? What's impressed you with these, man, that kind of stick out and say, you know what, man, this is a very, very good possibility that this does exist?
Well, there was one that I sent to my friend Eli Griffith, the stand-up comedian. He comes on the show a lot. There was one I had seen on TikTok, and it was in Germany. And they're driving down this like isolated road. There's a fence on the right side, and right above them is the TR-3B flying. And I was blown away with that. That is the best video shot from a cell phone that I have saw, period. Now, I know you can fake and, create a lot of stuff with this in today's time. I used to be really good at editing video, but that was on a computer. I've got fat fingers. I can't do a lot on my cell phone. So,
Me too.
But I always type back ducking for some reason. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean, ducking? But that video from Germany that was on TikTok with the TR-3B, I think that is 100% legit. That is the most convincing one that I've saw that lets me know again, which I already knew, that the TR-3B does exist and it is controlled by the military. There was one from, I think, Chile that was a really good video as well, because you could actually see the craft and so forth. Some of the other ones, I've always made the joke, why do people that see this stuff get the crappiest camera and try to film it or take pictures?
Yeah, exactly.
But, it is really hard sometimes. When myself and Cronkite last February saw the 3 TR-3Bs, I tried to take a picture with my iPhone 12 and it looked terrible. And I thought, well, I'm not going to criticize or make fun of these people anymore because this is kind of hard. So,
well, what about the one that they caught on cameras? It seems to me like it's just a couple years ago, but it was more than just a couple years ago. It was in Pikeville, I think.
Yes.
They caught.
Yes,
like a long tube. Yeah.
Yes, that is called a tube UFO, and that happened in October of 2012. That was 10 years ago, and it was up near the airport in Pikeville. It's where, they say it was originally spotted at and so forth. You could see it, I think, from different counties, and it was spotted by an astronomer from Pike County. I think his last name may have been, I can't remember what his last, it may have been Elliott or Estep or something like that. He was an older gentleman, but he spotted this, and the story came back that it was an internet balloon. Okay, now what an internet balloon is they tether these to the ground, these big balloons, and they put up the internet stuff to give people in rural areas internet, and they were supposedly testing these. Okay, those did exist in 2012. Google was testing them. I don't think that Google was testing them in 2012. It was, if you do research, it's 2015 or 17. It's when Google really started messing and testing weather balloons. Okay, if you're going to do that, if you're going to put up this big test, first you need to let the FAA know. You need to let your local law enforcement know, your local fire departments, in case anything happens and this, internet balloon crashes. None of that was done. And this company in California claimed credit for that was they were the ones that did it. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all, because in the photo that was captured, that is not a balloon. No, I know balloons come in all shapes and sizes.
Right.
But, to me, and you can look at that and look at a picture of a tube UFO or a cigar UFO. They're exactly the same to me.
It looked like it had rings in a way.
Yes, it did. But did you see anything tethering it to the ground? No. So I don't buy that.
It's just floating as pretty as you can be, man. There's nothing tethering that to the ground at all whatsoever. I mean, it's just right there and going, and it just stayed right there. I mean, it stayed in one spot for I don't know how long.
Yeah, it did. But and you'll always have people that'd be like, no, that's a balloon. I mean, or swamp gas, or, a light reflecting a zebra in the sky that's fighting with an elephant. It's always something ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Has there been like any report that you researched yourself, man, that, you had to just step away from because it just exhausted you or pushed you to your limits? Maybe just said, I can't research this anymore. I got to stop for a while.
Antarctica. But at the same time, it's so fascinating. Because when you really dive into this, and when you look at it from a timeline type thing, okay, you had the Roswell crash, you had this technology coming out, you had General Robert Byrd in his diary. He wrote that when it was 18 months after World War II, and, they had interrogated prisoners and this and that, and was told that the Nazis had a secret base there 18 months after the end of World War II. So General Byrd and his fleet, and I think there was like 40,000 people, several warships went to Antarctica, and they done an expedition. The expedition was supposed to last 6 months to find this Nazi base. And General Byrd wrote, or I'm sorry, not General Byrd, Admiral Byrd wrote in his diary that they got into a skirmish with flying ships that were shooting lasers, and they retreated and had to leave. And he stopped before he came back to America on, I can't remember the name of the country. And he actually told this story to a reporter that did a story on this. And you can find this online. And so after this, like 3 to 5 years later, Antarctica is declared off limits. No country owns it. You can have sections of it. You can't go there. You technically can go there on a tour, but you're guided. You cannot run off by yourself. You are restricted. You've got politicians going there. Why would politicians? Okay, a couple of years ago, I think about 3 years ago, you had John Kerry, who's in his 70s, went to Antarctica. Why are older politicians going to Antarctica? The coldest place on earth. I personally hate snow. Okay, there's supposed to be ice caves and so forth inside this ice, and it's 60 degrees. And there's just so much mystery surrounding Antarctica. And, you know, some of it I believe, some of it I don't believe.
See, man, you can have your own series with Antarctica on Hereto Chewbubblegum.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you know, and that's the reason we're going to start doing, you know, doing an Antarctica segment every 6 weeks or so. And I get people ask me, they're like, how do you talk about UFOs so much on the show? And I'm the same way. Sometimes I'll be thinking about it, and I'm like, man, we've said everything we can really say about UFOs. And then somebody will send an email in, or they'll send a text message, or they'll call in, and we'll find a new case, and we'll start talking about it. And, you know, when we talk about cases, we also do research. We check into those, you know, we investigate those. And I said this recently on the podcast that dropped this past Sunday. If I'm researching a certain case, I will look at other countries like, you know, China's UFO sightings, because sometimes, not necessarily China, I don't think they would put that information out there. I was just using that as an example. But some of these countries are kind of laid back, and you can find more information by searching other countries' UFO activities or UFO files or records than you can in our own.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because everything's hush hush.
Yes.
And
yes.
I don't understand it. It's like, why? You know?
Yeah. You know, and I mean, you know, you've got, and RhiAnna was talking earlier about, you know, people making fun of people that seen UFOs. You've got pilots now. You've got commercial pilots, private pilots, Navy pilots that are coming forward, military pilots, and talking about their experiences. Whereas 20 years ago, they would not have done that because they would have been ridiculed. They would have lost their jobs, you know, so the stigma is dropping off and going away a little bit.
So my next question was going to be about the podcast. How much information do you get from the people who listen to it that, you know, adds more stuff for you guys to go research and things like that? How much outside source do you get from them?
We have one named Firewater. He's a really good guy, really good friend of the show. He's given us some information, and some of it we've talked on the show about, some of it we've not. You know, somebody will send an email in, hey, did you hear about the Aztec UFO crash happened in 1958? Check this out, you know, and you'll go do some research on that. Or somebody will say, you know, they'll send in something, you know, and some of these people, like I told you before the show, you know, we don't give out where they're from anymore unless they put it in the body of the email. And I'll contact these people and say, hey, can we put this in the email? And, but some of these people will send in stuff. Hey, I live in Texas, you know, love the show. I've experienced, you know, I saw these strange lights. Have you? So I'll take that, you know, email, for example, if somebody sends an email from Texas, and I'll go to MUFON and look and see if they have a report. I will go to different places and look and see if they have a report, see if the date matches up, the time matches up, and, you know, so forth like that. So a lot of our listeners do give us good stories to talk about and good information. You know, sometimes you've got people, the first couple of shows in 2000, or probably the last couple of shows, 2019, I had a guy, and he's still a friend of mine, former military, had just retired in 2019, gave me a lot. He would not come on the show and give me an interview. He's like, you ask questions, I'll answer them. You can read them on the show, because he wanted to remain anonymous. And I totally understand that. And he's told me a lot, you know. And we have people reach out to us. We had a guy that was that happened in the Paintsville train versus UFO incident. He was there that night.
Yeah.
And I know the real story about what happened. You do too, because I told you before we started.
Yeah.
And he was, we were in the process of setting up an interview. I was going to disguise his voice because, he's retired from CSX. He has a pension. He didn't want it pulled. And, he's kind of pulled back a little bit, which is totally fine, and I may share the story on the show anyway, but nobody will know who it came from, but that is a fascinating case itself, and, have you ever been to Mammoth Cave?
No, I have not, and I should go, but I have not been there.
Okay. Now there's some people that believe Mammoth Cave even stretches up to Eastern Kentucky, so, and have you ever heard of the word dumb, D-U-M-B? Okay. All right. And I'm not talking about the word dumb. This is deep underground military bases.
Right.
And, you can find maps of supposed dumbs all over the United States. And some of this stuff is really fascinating to research. Even if it's not true, it's still fascinating just for the possibility to think we've got these tunnels all over the United States.
Yeah. There's some that blows my mind where you see the rat. I was like, how?
Yeah.
How's that even there?
Yeah. And I'm the exact same way. If you've not heard about Gary McKinnon, you may want to look into him and research him a little bit more because he's fascinating. Yes. All you have to do is Google Gary McKinnon, UK. So, and you can read about all the NASA hack and all and he hacked that with a gaming emulator in the early 2000s. So
would you say that, I don't know, who has the most UFO reports that you possibly can throw off the top of your head? Is it overseas or is it US? Who has the more UFO reports? To me, I believe it's overseas.
I think it's probably tied.
Really?
I think that there may be more reports overseas. I think that we have more proof, because everybody has this little device right here. I think we may have more proof in the United States. And, typically when you start researching UFOs, your most hotspots for UFO activity, if you live close to a beach or ocean or large body of water, a power plant or a military base, you're going to see something in the sky. Maybe not every night, but you will eventually see something that you can't explain because those seem to be like hot spots, those four places.
The thing that drives me crazy is that, where I live at, and
Yes.
there's these apartments up here on the 4 lane, which I'm not going to say where they're at, but there's a huge power grid that goes across there.
Okay.
And every time I go up there to pay rent or whatever, I mean, you could hear the electricity just sizzling. I'm just like, why is that not putting off anything UFO wise or anything? I mean, just throwing stuff.
I'm sure it is putting off stuff.
It's wild. If you're ever back over this way, drive up there and just roll your window down, turn the car off, and listen.
And you can check it out.
Dude, if something touches that, he gone.
But, have you ever had any UFO experiences? You ever saw one?
Yeah, there was one here actually several years ago. I was out on my front porch, and even the news started reporting this. That, is over here on top above the mountain. And I didn't even notice it was there till I looked over. It's quiet. Didn't make a sound whatsoever. But it had a blue, yellow, green light, sort of like a helicopter. And I was like, well, it's not a helicopter because you would hear the helicopter because I know there's helicopters laying here all the time. But for the life of me, Goose, it just hovered and then it went behind the mountain and then it just launched and was gone. I can't tell you what it was. All I know is it didn't make no noise, but to me, yeah, it was a UFO. To me, it was.
Right.
And then the crazy part about it, like 45 minutes to an hour later, our local news, WYMT, they were reporting it. Several other places was reporting this.
No, there was one last year. I can't remember what. It may have been in the summer that was seen over Harlan. I had people send me pictures. It was the red flame coming down that it looked like it was actually crashing. Did you happen to see that one? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was.
This one was that I saw was back in December. I remember that because I had Christmas stuff up and I was out on the porch. And it was an odd night. It was real silent outside. And normally it's not around here. It was real quiet. And I just happened to look up and there it was. I thought, well, that has to be a chopper or something other. Nope. Didn't make no noise whatsoever. I have no clue. And I'm not the only one who saw it here.
Right.
My neighbor saw it too. She's seen it. She's like, what is that? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, I hope disclosure comes out, like I said, in my lifetime. My mom, I've had her on the show before. I actually caught her by surprise and had her on the show a few months back, and I asked her, did she think aliens existed? And she's like, no, I don't. So, but she's never really looked into it. So if you get people that say, no, I don't, and they've not researched it, you need to research it for yourself and research the government archives.
Yeah.
And research some of that stuff for yourself before you say no.
Do you think all this talk, though, is giving it justice that, well, hey, we are noticing this and, hey, we're not going to be BS'd about this. There's something out there and quit covering it up.
I think eventually, if enough people get pissed and we get the right people in positions to release this information, I think it will be released. People have told me before, the government's not going to admit it until it sets down on the White House. Well, in the 1950s, you had several nights where UFOs were flying over the White House that are still to this day unexplainable.
Bobby Akers says Goose needs to sell those blow up aliens to Bowling Cox. It gets lonely on the trail.
Yeah, that is my alien Sam. He keeps me company here in Bunker Studios.
Oh man. Any location on the bucket list for you want to go and check out some UFO sightings possibly? Is there anywhere you want to go check out maybe?
Well, like I said, I have been to Roswell. I've been out in the desert in Roswell, New Mexico for nighttime. Unfortunately, I did not see anything. I would like to go.
Would you like to go to Area 51 though?
No, actually, that's not near Area 51.
Would you want to go to Area 51?
Yes, I would definitely want to go to Area 51. I don't know if I could get in, but I would definitely want to go there. Well, when me and my son planned a trip to Roswell, I was all excited. I'm like, we'll drive out to Little Alien Inn, we'll go to Area 51. And then you get to Roswell and start looking how far Area 51 is away. And it's like 8 hours away. Yeah. And we'd already drove across the state of Texas, and part of New Mexico. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to drive 8 hours,
Anyway, go ahead. What about your bucket list, man? I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. I've been to Arizona. I didn't really see anything in the night sky in Arizona. We were actually in the Phoenix area and, the city lights and so forth. You kind of threw me for a loop there, Honestly, I would like to go to and this is not, and I will probably do this sometime. I would like to go to Dayton, Ohio, near the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And, if I had a couple of nights and it was warm and just sit and just watch there, I would like to do that because I still think that the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is like 5 hours away from us, has a lot of technology that we do not know exist.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. There's a lot of stuff out there, man, that just it confuses me, but at the same time it amazes me.
Yeah.
So much stuff. Let's see. Bobby Akers says Eli, Bolin, and I figured it out. Penguins are aliens. That's why Antarctica is important. The movie Happy Feet is propaganda.
Damn it, Bobby, stop that. I'll sell propane and propane accessories.
I love King of the Hill.
It's been a while since I've tried to do him. It didn't really come out that good. So,
damn it, Bobby.
Yeah.
Give me my purse.
I don't know you.
Yeah, I don't know you. It's so cool to hear Tom Petty on there as Lucky.
Yeah, it is. I mean, now that is one guy that I wish I would have got to saw in concert. I do remember like the last big public event that I saw him do was when he did that halftime show at Super Bowl in the mid 2000s. It might have been 2007 or 8. He did the halftime show, and I thought that was great.
Diesel Power Cummings says, I want to explore WPAFB, Air Force Base, so badly. It's Dirty Dan, by the way.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that is Dirty Dan. Hello, Dirty Dan, brother. We've been talking about you and Queen Rebecca.
I think, man, I wonder if they're more open to letting people out there as far as, not like Area 51, because you get at Area 51, you're screwed.
Yeah, well, I mean, they and Dirty Dan's actually went on tour, him and his dad, of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They've took a tour, and, they have a museum part there and stuff. I mean, I would love to have unlimited access of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's a show on Peacock. It's not on anymore. It's called Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
But if nobody saw that, you need to go check that out. There's 2 seasons of it, and you definitely need to check that out. And I know the hour's coming to an end here. I see the clock there. But if anybody wants to really research UFOs, start with Jimmy Carter. All right, just punch in Jimmy Carter UFOs and read about his first experience and about what former President Bush Sr. told him when he asked about UFOs. And at first, President Bush wouldn't tell him. And then supposedly he told him in closed chambers what he knew, and people documented that a few days later, Jimmy Carter was all depressed and down and sad after him and Bush had this talk. You can also go check out what Ronald Reagan says about UFOs and about what he told Steven Spielberg about the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that he almost had it correct. He made that comment. And, go watch Ronald Reagan's UN speech. We don't talk politics on the show. I think Ronald Reagan was a great president because he wanted to protect America. He was a true American like John Wayne. He was from that John Wayne era, So.
All right, folks, it's the end of Beyond the Paranormal podcast. I want to thank my guest, Goose, from Hereto Chewbubblegum. Goose, when does the podcast air? How can they keep in touch with you? All that good stuff for Hereto Chewbubblegum.
New episodes drop every Sunday at 4 p.m. on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you find top quality podcast. You can just visit the website, HereToChewBubblegum.com.
And folks, for the ones who missed this podcast, I will upload it as always. It'll be uploaded this week, and I'll be sharing it to all the socials, and I'll send it to Goose and all that good stuff. So, I was getting ready to burp. I'm sorry. Want to thank each and every single person who dropped in and tuned in tonight. I truly appreciate it. Please get out and give us a share on Beyond the Paranormal podcast on YouTube and Spotify and on our Facebook page, because it tremendously helps me and tremendously helps Goose out too for what we're doing.
Yep, definitely.
So, and for my co-hosts, RhiAnna and Critina, who RhiAnna was here for a little bit, then Critina couldn't make it up. Anyway, we still have them here. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another Beyond the Paranormal podcast. Thanks, Goose.